and I'm happy that she's here to talk about product management and anti-patterns, like identifying behaviors that commonly result in frustrated product teams, for example. So, a warm welcome for Karla Schönicke.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're still holding on. Second day, afternoon of a conference. So I'm talking about product management anti-patterns, and not just that, actually the freelance edition. So I hope it's interesting for you. I want to start off also to get to know you a little bit, because, well, I haven't met you all. How familiar are you with the concept of anti-patterns? Please use Slido. I love this tool. And then there's #unlocked or the QR code. Questions should be active, and I'm checking my phone to see the results. So the answer options are: you wrote a book about it, or you have seen anti-patterns in some action, or you think you know what anti-patterns mean, or you have no idea. The no idea is currently leading with 50%. So it's good that I'm talking about it, right? So for the next questions, since it's product management anti-patterns, it's logical that I'm asking you, who of you is actually a product manager or a product owner? So let me know. I'm checking my phone again. I have to do this, and you can't see the results because I had to hand in a PDF and not a live version. So this is a workaround. We're flexible as PMs. It's your current role, a freelance PM or PO. You definitely want to work in this role. You might want to work in it, or you don't see yourself ever working as a PM or PO, or you don't have the training, but you would actually love to. So let's check. Reload. Okay, doesn't work. Let's continue. So product management anti-patterns, how I call it, is how to best mess it up. That's what anti-patterns are about. It shows you behavior that you've probably all seen in your daily work that don't lead to success, and as the moderator already said, frustrate people, and also will frustrate the people who are hiring you. So you probably have trouble after that. Why is there so many anti-patterns? If you Google it, you will find probably 100 of them. I chose some just because they're so prominent, and if you watch out for them, then you have a smoother sailing. So I think the number one thing as a freelancer, but as a product manager also in general, especially when you're hired because things are wrong, and as a freelancer you need to come in and fix things. We never had product in our team before. Now you're the first product person, and then you immediately start to only work with a Scrum team because they're the ones that are doing the work, like design and engineers. I think that's a fundamental mistake, essentially probably because it's wrong. It's not in the team only, it's because of communication issues across the board. So you definitely need to take care of all the stakeholders that are all pulling on the product team or the non-existent product team, and cross-organization communication as well, to understand what is actually their expectations, what do they want the product to do, and then to figure out how can you make it happen with a Scrum team. But if you miss that outside perspective, it's very surely going to go against the wall. So that's the first anti-pattern. I've seen it in action. The second one is to dive right into work. So it's the first day, things are already burning, there's pressure on the project where the product needs to be shipped, and you dive right into action. Also, it really helps to write down what you're supposed to do, because then the CEO thinks one thing, the person that hired you thinks another thing, and maybe there's even a third person that thinks you have a hidden agenda that you need to follow. So clarification of assignment is actually my favorite exercise I try to do with the people before I start working. It usually takes a week. Everybody thinks, let's just write it down, half an hour, and then we're done. Takes a week to clarify what I'm actually supposed to do here to help out as a freelancer. Because especially in product, you have so many people who have an interest in you. And then, goals and metrics beforehand. So you can say, by the way, I delivered what you asked me to. Otherwise, you might experience that the metrics will be changed afterwards, or the goals might change, and then everybody tells you, hey, we wanted this, but it was never actually agreed. Then the proxy PM, that's very PM specific. You might have the title as product manager, and you're really happy to be working in product, and you even have the product/Scrum team, but you don't have any authority. In the end, the decision, what the product is supposed to do, and the strategy and the vision, somebody else is deciding, and you're just like a puppet, every day working with the engineers and the designers. And basically, also, it wouldn't matter if you were there or not. Yeah, you're just kind of the puppet of somebody else. You really need to be accountable for the product outcomes. This accountability means that somebody actually gives you the authority to make decisions. Of course, then you also have the responsibility. That's the second part as well. And I especially wrote outcomes, not output. So it doesn't matter how much you actually ship. If it's the wrong stuff, nobody cares. It's outcome. You need to have access to customers and stakeholders. Otherwise, you're kind of the back office PM, and you're never in touch with the market and the needs that are actually out there. And also the decision-making authority. Extremely important. If you don't have that, it's basically like, you're hiring a freelance person to fix their issues, but they're not allowing this person to really become active. Fourth thing, also really nice, if you're reporting as a product person to either the CTO or to sales. So what do you think could be an issue with that? Anyone? Any guesses? Yes. Yeah, exactly. The CTO has a very much technology focus, but product focuses on the user. Sales also doesn't focus on the users. They focus on sales, which means just the money. And they don't care whether actually people are behind there and needs. They just want their sales and their monthly and quarterly reports to be the right thing. So if you are, as a product person under the CTO, you will probably be more active in solving technical debt or any bugs, or having new architecture or migration or whatnot. It's not user-focused. And as sales is the same thing. You're just optimizing the product, and we could even become a feature factory, because then sales has an easier game. You need to be under a product leader that has the product thinking. Extremely vital. I see so many startups getting that wrong. Yeah, we have a CTO, and he also does product. Ouch. And then if it's not a CPO, because you can't have 10 C-level persons, I get that, then there need to be a head of product. Somebody that really understands you have to be eyes and ears everywhere in the organization and outside to bring it together, and then build, with an interdisciplinary team, a product that answers to those market needs. Not a super technical solution, and not a solution that has 100 functions that 2% of the users use, which is what sales likes. So next anti-pattern is estimates in Scrum are used for a Gantt chart. That's my absolute favorite one. When people completely misunderstand product versus project. And I'm really, when somebody calls, oh, you're a project manager, I'm like, no, product manager. Because estimates are a method to kind of grasp a little bit the risk and make it a little bit smaller, because you have thought about it, you've talked about it in your team about it, and then you give an estimate, could be roughly this big or this small. In a Gantt chart, it's more like this waterfall. First, this needs to happen, this needs to happen, this. We're really sure about the path, and there's absolutely no innovation or no discovery and no risk involved. In an agile mindset, you really know that iterations bring you closer to a moving target. A Gantt chart doesn't bring you closer to a moving target, it's a fixed one. If it moves, then you miss it, because you just followed the Gantt one. And a really smart sentence that I read 3 years ago, and since then I'm citing it, products are born at the end of projects. That's when the real magic starts, and when you have to develop it and so on. And maybe sundown at one point, but projects are never the thing. You need to evolve with the product and have those skills around it. So yeah, never mix up those two, and be clear in the communication, because other people out there still don't know the difference. And then the sixth anti-pattern is the conviction that coders need to code. They're such a valuable resource. They need to spend all their time coding. Otherwise, I'm wasting their time. They can't write tickets. They shouldn't be in meetings. They should stop talking. No. Business-savvy engineers are the real invaluable resource because they understand their topic, they're technology-savvy, but they also know what it means for the business, because you're never building a product to be the technological thingy, which is #1 in the world. You're building a product to reach business goals. Simple as that. So if they understand, oh yeah, it might be good as well if it's just 80% of geekiness in there, and it's already solving the customer's problem, that's fine. And the last one, this seventh anti-pattern, is siloing the Scrum team. So especially in larger corporations, you see then that you have the product department, you have the engineering department, then you have the design department, and they're all neatly siloed, stacked next to each other, maybe talking once a week, but not sitting together, not being overly too much in meetings. Yeah, definitely not communicating regularly. For me, you need to have cross-functional teams. It's vital that you have, if this is the problem, all the different perspectives around it, so we have a much larger view of and understanding of the problem to solve it holistically. Yeah, you need different people with different perspectives, simple as that. And you also have, if you are actually in that team together working on that one product, you will have a much clearer sense of identity and mission than if you need to book a designer for 2 hours here and book an engineer for this week and have a product manager that's actually on 3 other projects as well. Yeah, very, very it's used to do that also in agencies a lot, that you're spread thin around. I don't believe that's a very successful technique. So yeah, that's my very quick grasp of anti-patterns that I see in product management, and especially when you're freelancing. Now there's Q&A time, and I would love some discussion.
That was a quick one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a bit
There's more
late.
time for questions.
Yeah. Are there any questions so far? Didn't get some in Slido. You don't have to type them in. I can come over also. It's no problem.
Or any challenges. I love a good discussion. Yeah.
I can get one.
All right, while we're waiting for the microphone, some other people can talk about or think about questions, or maybe your experiences and share it, what you've come across as anti-patterns. Sorry.
I just want to share my experience, but also ask the question. One of the points was that coders shouldn't talk. Yeah. Is it the reality? Because I work for different companies and now I'm doing freelancing. And my experience is, I mean, we always talk with the coders because we want to know their view, how they want to solve the problem. Yeah. So we always discuss with them how they see the problem, how do they want to solve this thing, and that's why I want to ask: is it the reality what you just showed us, that the coders shouldn't talk?
I mean, all of this is from my experience. I've seen all of this in real life, and sometimes it's not that the people outside think that coders shouldn't talk, but they themselves are thinking that, like, no meetings for me, I need a meeting-free day, all this talking, I want to code. And it's like, stop. You're not valuable to me when you're just coding. I need you to communicate your solution in your head and maybe alternatives to that. And I need you also present with the customer to understand what actually their pain is, and that you can geek out maybe on your weekend, but not for the business, because then we're building for 2 weeks instead of 2 days, and this customer needs it tomorrow.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, sure.
There's also a question in Slido. Thank you. What was the biggest stakeholder management issue you faced and failed to solve it and learned from?
Yeah, good one.
three questions.
I learned this early. So I didn't take them that seriously, the stakeholders. I said, okay, yeah, they're not really convinced of the name for the product yet, but they will come to love it. Yeah, they hated it each day even more. And then in the end, I had stakeholders that were super opposed to a name for the product that we had used everywhere in the product and then engineering team. And it was days before the launch, which would have meant redesigning everything because the name was everywhere. And we had some crisis meetings, which didn't satisfy anyone because it was just hardened views. And then again, we went back to the customer and tested it with a small group, like, how horrible do you think this name is? Is it confusing? What do you associate with it? And then with that data, we convinced the stakeholder, especially the sales department, that it doesn't actually play that big of a role what kind of name the product is. It's more like the functionality and that the users love it. But that means for me, for now, always day one, really understand what is important to each stakeholder and get to understand them on a personal level, and regularly check in. And if there is a tiny hint of disagreement or opposing things, take that really seriously early on, because I never want to run into that chaos again.
And what are product use cases you feel is underdeveloped and is a big opportunity to build?
Product use cases underdeveloped. You're asking me for the next unicorn. I think there's so many things that still need to be solved with software to assist people, and that's my conviction that software should be there to make our lives easier instead of more complicated. And that already means existing software make it so that people don't have to bend over backwards to actually use the system. There's just too many bad products already out there. We could improve all of them, and then already everybody's lives would be better. And of course, then there's chronically underserved groups that don't have products built for them, because let's be honest, tech world is still very male and very white. So products are used or are built from their perspective, mostly for those markets. And there's underserved groups we can still uncover and use as new markets.
Mm-hmm. How do you lobby for the necessity of a CPO or head of product?
Yeah, I think it comes with a product thinking, which I exactly try to describe. So if you have a sales person, they're incentivized in one way. If you have a technical person, they're incentivized in another way. But product, especially like if it's the platform is the product. So the tech is not just one side thing. You're doing actually an offline service or consulting agency, then maybe you don't need it. But if it's really a software internet company, and the product is front and center of your whole business, you need someone to understand it from A to Z and not just care about one letter and one part of it. And for me, that's the product person, to hold all the strings together. And if there isn't such a person, usually when I talk with clients or potential clients and ask a few questions, I can already know, okay, you don't have a product person, and you feel it in the product because it's totally misaligned. There's one part of the product that works like this, and then suddenly the navigation changes, and you're like, what the heck? And there's even Conway's law that says that how you're built internally as a company, the organization structure, it shows in the outside offering to the market. So if you have 3 departments, sales and customer service, and maybe third level something, then you will also run your user, the poor user who just has a problem and contacts you will run them through the 3 departments on the outside. It's not fair. So again, you need the product thinking, you need someone to take care of it all and pull those stakeholders together to finally make a product that feels round and not just like bits and pieces stuck together.
Mm-hmm. What do you think are the most common reasons for feature creep and how to avoid it?
Yeah, feature factory, feature creep. It's all unclear vision, mission, expectations as well, and also, if the product person is either doesn't have authority or they're not really consistent, they were not really strict. So creep, for example, happens when there's a ticket and you carry it from one sprint to the next sprint to the next week to the next week, and there's still something that needs to be like, no, come on, that was the scope, we did it, and then either we leave it like this or we don't even deploy it or we make another ticket to improve it. But keeping one ticket open, that's like one of the major things that you can look at. It's like something is wrong here in this team. Communication, expectations, stakeholders, whatever, but we need to fix this.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any interpersonal practices for understanding the expectations and requirements of stakeholders with some hidden agendas?
Hidden agendas usually come out after some time. So you need a little bit of time. And then observing a lot, I would say, because in meetings, if people don't say right out or they say one thing and they actually act in a different way, you will observe that behavior over time. You can actually address it and then see how they react. Sometimes they're spooked. So my way to call out people is I'm direct all the time. I'm really transparent. By the way, I observed this. What do you think this means? Or why are we doing this like that? And then people start thinking about themselves and also why they've always done things one way and why they keep doing it when it's actually leading to failure. So I think that's one part. As a freelancer, you're also the mirror that is kind of reflecting the whole organization. Let's look at yourselves. Are you really doing what you want to do, or is it something different?
Mm-hmm. Okay. What advice can you give a solo entrepreneur with no-code dev and product skills bootstrap to build a digital asset or SaaS app, etc.?
So if you're using no code, you already understood that there should be just a prototype and MVP to test really quickly. So I like it. And then the question is, what is the real question behind it? So do you have trouble building fast? Shouldn't actually be a problem with no code tools. You can do things yourself. Do you have trouble finding your customers? Then it's a go-to-market problem. Do you have trouble selling? Because maybe you're not the person to stand on stage. People can help you there. So it really depends on what the actual issues is with that setup. You can come to me if I didn't answer your question. Feel free.
Can you give examples of crappy products flooding the market? What factors usually lead to them failing, and what could they improve as quick win?
Crappy products going to market. I mean, everybody of us could now go and build something crappy and call it a product and launch it. It can be just out there. Why still big companies are putting crappy products out there? So like my favorite example is, I think it was the Apple Watch. And the first Apple Watch version didn't have a period tracker on it, where 50% of the world population are women. At some point in their life, they have their cycles. So why the heck was it not on there? Well, you can imagine what the engineering team looked like. So I think these fundamental things of my team setup, did I hear everyone? Did I test it with the right groups, with diverse groups? You can already avoid many things.
And the last one, please elaborate on product is born at the end of a project. So projects are like, okay, we have a certain amount of time, and then we do A, B, C, D, whatever, and then the project ends, and then the product is there. So the project was about building an app, for example. But for a product manager, that's not where the project ends. It is actually where the magic starts, because now I have this app. Now I need to look at my KPIs. I need to interview the users, like how they're using it, maybe observe them, understand the bugs, for example, and like always develop the thing further. Because if I only build it for use case one, like, I don't know, maybe a desktop thingy for shopping. Well, then came mobile shopping. Everybody was shopping on their phones, not on a desktop anymore. If you missed that, then your product will not be valid anymore, or not valuable. So you constantly need to move with the market. And that's why I say, okay, yeah, you can have a project to build an app, but then you need to accompany that app through life. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I think that were the questions so far. So thank you, Karla.
You're welcome. Thank you.